Good evening, everyone. I am Manraj Singh, the host for today's event. Before starting with the event, I would like to give you a brief introduction about ACM. As you all know, it is a global community for advancement in science and technology. It organizes various events and has around 200 student chapters across the nations, of which CCT ACM is one of them. Over the years, CCET ACM student chapter has been growing and evolving more tech enthusiasts who are who share their experience and knowledge of their domain with other budding technocrats. Currently, we are working on research and development with also a focus on web development, competitive programming, and designing. Our overall goal is to envision the building a community of like-minded people who love to code, collaborate, and have fun with tech-savvy society. Keeping in mind, we have invited interested speakers to discuss and share their skills in expertise with the other individuals and technology associated people. Today's speaker are Gopal Mengi and Deepak Mahto from Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Chandigarh College of Engineering and Technology. Now, without taking much time, let's start the event, day two of Hour of Code event. The stage is all yours, Gopal and Deepak.
So, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome you all to the Hour of Code Day 2 event Introduction to Artificial Intelligence, Machine Learning, and also Deep Learning. And the speakers for today are Dr. Gopal Mengi, myself, ACM Executive Member, CSC Second Year, and Deepak Mahto, ACM Executive Member as well from CSC Second Year at CCET. The table of contents for today are Introduction to Artificial Intelligence and the applications, the demand of AI, and also a brief introduction to history of artificial
Bro,
intelligence.
your sound is not audible. You say loudly.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. The table of contents for today are Introduction to Artificial Intelligence, applications of artificial intelligence, and also some introduction about natural language processing, and also the brief history of AI. Next, we will proceed to Introduction to Machine Learning, the models of machine learning, their processes, some particular definitions, and the terms used in machine learning, and also the applications of machine learning in real life world. Then we will proceed to introduction to deep learning, its the applications, the types of deep learning, and the neural networks. So next slide, Deepak. Then is introduction to artificial intelligence. So first of all, what is artificial intelligence? As we all know that artificial intelligence is a very popular technology and has a great demand in today's world. But why is that so? That is an important question. So, artificial intelligence, that is AI, is basically a branch of computer science that deals with the intelligence and the thinking capabilities of the machine. AI also helps in performing tasks that require human intelligence. But we know that humans have a limited capacity to process the information or data. So, here AI plays a very important role in processing the information that the human brain cannot. To summarize in a few lines, we can say that artificial intelligence is an intelligent entity created by humans and is able to perform tasks intelligently without being explicitly instructed, and is also capable of thinking and acting rationally and as humanely as possible. Then we will move on to the history of AI. As we all know that artificial intelligence is a really very popular technology in today's world. But AI is not a new word or technology. It is much older than you would imagine. The first work of artificial intelligence was witnessed in 1943 when Warren McCulloch and Walter Pitts proposed a model of artificial neurons. Then, subsequently, in the year 1950, Alan Turing, an English mathematician, published a journal, that is Computing Machinery and Intelligence, in which he proposed a test. That is the test which is used to check the machine's ability to exhibit intelligent behavior and its thinking capability. That is called the Turing test. This test till date is not passed by many machines and is referred to as the most difficult test of the uh, for the machines that exhibit the machine learning and deep learning behavior. Alan Turing was also the one who developed the Turing machine, which was used in the World War II against the Germans to win the World War II by England. Then, after many advancements and many years, then came the golden years, which are referred to as the 1966 and 1972, when in 1966, Joseph Weizenbaum created the first chatbot, which was named as Eliza, and then in 1972, the first intelligent humanoid robot was built in Japan, which was named as Wabot 1. Then in the year 1997, IBM Deep Blue, which is another AI technology, beats the world chess champion. That was a Russian chess champion, that is Garry Kasparov, and became the first computer to beat a world chess champion in a strategical game, that is the chess. In 2002, for the first time, AI entered the homes in the everybody's life, uh, in the form of Roomba, a vacuum cleaner, which when instructed and programmed cleans the whole house efficiently, and you do not have to roam around with it, unlike the manual vacuum cleaners. Then AI came in business world in the year 2006, when companies like Facebook, Twitter, Netflix, Google, Amazon, and other tech giants started using AI to improve their the user experience and also the user feed, and to engage better users, and to improve their engagements in their social media platforms and also their e-commerce websites. Presently, AI can be seen in everybody's home and is a part of life. That these may include Alexa, that is by Amazon, then Google Home Mini, Siri by Apple, Google Assistant. These are some personalized assistants which use the technology of artificial intelligence and also natural language processing for speech recognition, which I will be discussing further. Then as you can see, there is a timeline of the history which briefly describes the history of AI. As I have explained, in 1943, the evolution of artificial neurons, then Turing machine in 1950, then the birth of AI, Dartmouth Conference in 1956, then ELISA in 1966, then the Wabot 1972, which also beats the technology, then first AI winner 1974 to 1980, then Expert System 1980, and then IBM Deep Blue, first computer to beat a world chess champion 1997. Then in 2002, Roomba, which is a vacuum cleaner, as I've already explained. Then Google Now, and as you can see, Amazon. This timeline is still 2015, but now this Amazon Echo is replaced by Amazon's Alexa, which is also an AI technology. So that is a brief history. Then we will move on to the demand for AI. As you all know that AI is a really big technology, and so we have to understand that what has created such a huge demand in the field of artificial intelligence. That is, we have basically mentioned four broad reasons which has the responsibility to for the increasing demand of AI. That is, firstly, that is the advancement in the computational power. As computational power has increased over the years, the processors are being of better quality. It is being possible for us to implement AI in daily aspects of life. As we all know that when in previous years there was not a better quality of laptops and computers so as to run the programs in our homes, but the processors like the i5, i7, m1, m1 pro, and m1 max, that is by Apple, they are being of better quality and better GPU technology, which has the 8 core, 32 core, 16 core, and up to 64 core GPU, which is very important in running the high level machine learning programs. So that is also has attracted uh, the AI and ML enthusiast to increase the demand of AI. Then is the big data. The advancement in technology has led to more and more data, which requires a more refined technology to process the information, to get the required output, and reach to conclusions which improve the user engagements of the uh, social media platforms. As you can see that Instagram social is a social media platform, as well as Snapchat and Facebook. They have really huge data which needs to be processed to get to conclusions that improve their users feed and also increase the user engagement. Then is the better algorithms. We have algorithms that are based on neural networks, which is the core concept behind deep learning. We will also be discussing about the deep learning in a bit. Since we have better algorithms, so computations have been improved, leading in the demand of AI. And the final reason that the demand of AI is increasing is that the universities, governments, and tech giants like Google, Amazon, Netflix are investing heavily in AI, as I've explained earlier, also that the e-commerce websites and social media platforms are regularly improving their user experience by using the technologies of AI and machine learning. So these are some reasons which increase the demand of artificial intelligence. And then is the types of artificial intelligence. We have broadly classified AI into three major types, that is the artificial narrow intelligence, also called as weak AI. Then is the artificial general intelligence, the strong AI or deep artificial intelligence. Then final is the artificial super intelligence. So for the first type, that is the artificial narrow intelligence. Artificial narrow intelligence, which is commonly known as weak AI or narrow AI, is a type of AI which we as humans have been able to properly implement and have realized the potential of. This is a goal oriented, narrow rangeability holding perspective that executes specific focused tasks. Machines that are focused on one narrow task operate under a narrow set of constraints and limitations. That is why they are commonly referred to as weak artificial intelligence. Narrow AI doesn't replicate proper human intelligence, it is basically simulating or mimicking the human behavior based on narrow range of parameters. Some examples of the narrow AI which are being used in the present day scenario are Siri, Alexa, Cortana by Microsoft, etc. And also it is used in medications and healthcare systems and as prediction tools to diagnose cancer and other health related issues with extreme accuracy through human behavior, cognition, replication, and reasoning. Now for the second type, we have the artificial general intelligence, commonly known as strong AI or deep artificial intelligence. It is the concept by which machines mimic or emulate the human mind's intelligence or human behavior, with the ability to learn and apply this approach or intelligence to solve any kind of varied problems. AGI can be thought to understand, interpret, and act in a way that is indistinguishable from that of a human in terms of performance because of having comprehensive knowledge and cognitive computing capabilities. It can be related to artificial superintelligence, but we have explored some of its capabilities as compared to superintelligence. And some of its applications to be listed are the self-driving cars, in which mainly the company Tesla, the huge car company, is working towards. And secondly is the robots, which mimic the human behavior very efficiently. Then is the proactive healthcare management system, and then is the automated financial investing, in which the investors are being guided through the steps of investing to get and to yield better returns. And for the third type of artificial intelligence, we have the ASI, that is the artificial super intelligence. It is basically a hypothetical artificial intelligence, and it may take a while to achieve this type of AI. Theory behind this is that it is an AI that not only understands the human behavior and intelligence, but it has also become self aware or self vigilant enough to surpass the capacity of human intelligence and behavioral ability. The theory basically talks about situation where AI will surpass the human capability. You can see lots of examples in of ASI in movies and fiction books. One of the famous one is is the Terminator, where the robots are able to think themselves and and they surpass the human race. This, when achieved, this will be called as artificial super intelligence. From the definition, as you can see with superintelligence, machines can think of the possible interpretations which are simply impossible for humans to think. This is because the human brain has a limit to the thinking ability which is constrained to some billion neurons. But basically the AI that we see nowadays in our day-to-day life is of narrow intelligence type. that we have fully achieved, and the super intelligence is yet to be achieved. Then the programming languages which can be used to achieve the artificial intelligence, and there are many programming languages, but to list a few, we have listed as the Python, which have been discussed yesterday in the yesterday's session, which is used in developing websites, that is backend development, softwares, task automation, data analysis, and data visualization. And also, this can be used in high level machine learning programs and deep learning, that is basically neural networks to implement neural networks. It has libraries like Keras and TensorFlow, which help in application of neural networks, and also models like LSTM. Then is Java, used extensively in Android operating system, but can also be used in achieving artificial intelligence and machine learning. Then is C++, that is the language behind the that is the core language behind the computer science engineering, and it ranges from computer games to mathematical simulations, and every other operating system is coded in C++ only, and Python indeed is coded in C and C++. So that is also a very important language to achieve artificial intelligence. Then are some languages like R, Prolog, Lisp, and Rust. Lisp is the second oldest programming language after Fortran, which was the first ever programming language created, and is considered to be the pioneers in computer science and the implementation of artificial intelligence. Then are some applications of artificial intelligence. As we all know that artificial intelligence is being guided through in the every verse of computer science. But to list some of the few applications, we have broadly categorized that AI in astronomy, artificial intelligence can be very useful to solve the complex astronomical problems, and AI technology can be helpful to understand the universe as how it works, what is its origin, and some other questions which scientists will be better known. Then is the AI in healthcare. Healthcare industries are also implementing the artificial intelligence to make a better and faster diagnosis than humans. AI can help doctors with diagnosis and can inform the patients that are worsening their situation, so that the medical help can reach to the patient before hospitalization. Also, AI can be used to analyze the MRIs and the CT scans better than the humans, because machines do not have a scope of error, but humans can. Then AI in e-commerce websites. AI is providing a competitive edge to the e-commerce industry and is becoming a more demanding in the e-commerce business. AI is helping shoppers to discover associated products with recommended size, color, or even brand. As we all know that whenever we search on Amazon or Flipkart or Myntra or Snapdeal, it recommends us the perfect product for our requirement. When we specify our requirement to that is achieved through AI only. So that is also a very big reason that e-commerce websites are using artificial intelligence and machine learning in their websites. Then AI in gaming, as we have discussed, that robot that beats the chess champion Gary Kasparov. Then AI can be used in gaming purposes. The AI machines can play strategic games like chess, where the machine needs to think of a large number of possible places. And also one more example, that AI beats the checkers champion also, which is considered to be far more difficult than the game of chess, and it is much more strategical than it, and also has billions of combinations which cannot be processed by human brain efficiently, but AI can see the future and predicted. So it has also beat the world checkers champion also. Then AI in data security. The security of data is crucial for every company, and cyber attacks are growing very rapidly in the digital world. Artificial intelligence can be used to make your data more safe and secure. Some of the examples to be listed are AEG Pot, A12 platform are used to determine software bug and cyber attacks in a better way. Then is natural language processing. As I have also discussed, some of the applications like Alexa, Google Assistant, Siri, they are also using natural language processing for speech recognition. For example, if we say something to another person, he or she might be able to understand, but the machines cannot. So here comes the natural language processing. And NLP for short is broadly defined as the automatic manipulation of the natural language, like speech and text, by software. It is considered as a software that helps the computer to understand that what humans mean, and also the sentiment of the sentence can also be understood, like whether it is said in a sarcastic way, or it is a positive statement, a neutral one, or a negative one. Then it is also used in named entity recognition. That is, it identifies words or phrases as useful entities. For example, the named entity recognition identifies Delhi as location, or John as a man's name, and also it can further identify the subjects related to them, and their meanings also. Then is the sentiment analysis. The Twitter and the Amazon, like big tech giants, are also using the sentiment analysis to analyze the tweets or the product reviews of their users, that whether they are sarcastic or neutral, or the confusion or suspicion. These are some of the applications of natural language processing. And in a simple way, if we have to understand that NLP can be understood as the process to make the machine or computer understand the text and speech in the same way as humans do, so as to process more and more information in the right way. And that is essentially the technology that makes the computers understand the feelings of the humans also. So as you can imagine, that this is a very important technology. Now is the introduction to machine learning, and also subsequently deep learning, which will be taken over by Deepak. So over to Deepak now.
So I will take over now. I will give now a brief introduction to machine learning. So in this, I will be talking about basically what is machine learning, its uses, important keywords used during machine learning process, and what is basically machine learning process, and the applications of machine learning. So first, what is machine learning? Machine Before starting the machine learning, we should know that artificial intelligence and machine learning is two different concepts. They are not same thing. Machine learning is used in artificial intelligence. You can also say that machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence, and it helps to achieve the artificial intelligence. So basically, if we define machine learning, it is to provide large amount of data to a computer algorithm, or simply to the machine, to make them learn from it, to make them gain insight or pattern from the given data. So it machine learning makes machine automatically learn from the data and improve the model given from the data, without being explicitly programmed to do so, or to gain a insight directly from it. So unlike the artificial intelligence, machine learning basically have large amount of data fed to it, and it provide suggestion and decision from the data. So these decision that is driven from the data is known as data driven decisions. So for machine learning, from the definition we can see that data is a very important aspect of machine learning. So if we basically, from the above definition, we can infer that machine learning made up of three parts, that are the algorithm. Algorithm helps in making calculation. Second is variables and features. So variable and features help in making decisions and suggestion. And the third is the trained data. Trained data is the data we know previously, or also known as input data, that helps in making machine learn. So these are the important aspect of machine learning. If we talk about the workflow of machine learning, it is feeding large amount of trained data to the algorithm and optimizing the model to get known solution, which we previously know. So machine will develop a predictive model based on this data provided, and with the help of the algorithm that computer provide. So after this workflow, after this large amount of data is fed to the machine to help them learn more and more and make prediction more accurate. So this is basically what machine learning is. In short, we can say that machine learning needs large amount of data feed it to it, and with the help of an computer algorithm, it can make prediction and decisions. So next is what is need for the machine learning. So, as we know, since the start of technological revolution, technology becomes center of everything. Data is generated everywhere and every second. If you use WhatsApp and send message, or currently we are using Google Meet to do this event, or when you are watching videos on YouTube, everything produce data. So with availability of so much data, it is possible to build predictive model based on this data. So if we talk about companies like Google, Netflix, Amazon, Twitter, or other e-commerce website, or social media website, they use machine learning model to predict business opportunities for them, or to avoid losses during making decisions. These decisions, as I discussed earlier, is known as data driven decision. This machine learning not only help them making gain large amount of profitable opportunities, but also avoid making possible losses. So as you can see, data helps in growth of business and is solution of many of the complex problems. We just need to know how to handle these problems. So few of the reasons that I have listed here are: first, the increase in data generation. As I've said earlier, that data is generated everywhere and every second. So as data is everywhere, so we have to use you have to use this data effectively and draw useful insight from this, and develop useful insights from this. So we have to uh, we can use machine learning to get insight from it. Second is improved decision making. So machine learning models can help make better decision. As I have said earlier, data driven decision. So machine learning helps in making data driven decision. So for example, if we take a business, we can use machine learning to predict risk and anomalies from it. As I have said earlier, that in business we can use machine learning to predict profits and loss. So it is very helpful in decision making. Next is uncover patterns and trends in data. Extracting patterns and trends in data manually takes lot of time. If, as you know, there is a large amount of data, and if we do manually, it will take lots of time, like 2 3 days or more than that. So, but if we use machine learning, we can extract the pattern or insights from the data in seconds. We just have to run a model on the data, and it will give the output from this. So next is solve complex problems. Machine learning can be used to solve complex problems like self-driving cars, or genes detection, or detecting stars in the universe. Machine learning can help solve many of the complex problems. So to summarize this, I can say that machine learning is very important at the present, as we have lots of uses of data that is generated. Next is machine learning definitions. So here I will be discussing some of the important definitions that we come across during machine learning operations processes. So first is algorithm. So machine learning algorithm are basically a set of rules and statistical techniques used to learn patterns from data and draw significant information from it. So algorithm is very important in machine learning, and basically it used to find the logic behind the machine learning model in machine learning using machine learning algorithm. For example, if you take for example, in machine learning algorithm can be a linear regression or decision tree. In previous algorithm definition, as you have seen, we use word like model. So what is basically this model? So next is machine learning model. So it is actually a main component of machine learning process. A model is trained by using the machine learning algorithm that we have previously discussed. The difference between an algorithm and the model is basically that an algorithm maps all the decisions that a model is supposed to make based on the given input, or in order to get the correct output. So model will use an algorithm to get the useful insight from the data. So these two first definition are basically very important in machine learning process. And next is predictor variable. It is a feature from the data which can help in predicting the output from the data. So if you take an example like you have to predict a person weight using height. So here height is the predictor variable. As To predict the weight, you are using height to calculate it, to predict it. So similarly, if you talk about next, that is response variable. It is also known as target variable or output variable. If you talk about it from the last example, then the weight will be the response variable. uh, a- as you have seen, the height is predictor variable and weight is response variable. So we can define it as this is the variable you are trying to predict using predictor variable. Or you can also say that response variable is basically the feature that needs to be predicted using predictor variable or the feature. Next is training data and testing data. So first, the training data. uh, in uh, the machine learning model that we have previously discussed, it is trained using this training data. So when you feed large amount of data into the machine, you will have to divide the machine into you have to divide the data into two parts. These two parts are, first, the training data, and second is testing data. So training data is basically used to create a machine learning model. We have to feed this training data into machine to make them learn from it and find key patterns and insight from this. So the training data is essential to make a machine learning model. The next is testing data. So the other split data is called as testing data, and it is used to check the accuracy and efficiency of the uh, machine learning model that we have previously created. And the main use of this testing data is to evaluate the machine learning model that we have created. And these are mainly the general definition you can come across during machine learning process. And next, I will discuss machine learning process. So machine learning process is very important. You have to understand what are the steps that you have to follow during machine learning process. So basically, we will start from what is machine learning process. So the machine learning process involves building a predictive model. As I have said earlier, machine learning is building a predictive model upon data. So it is building a predictive model that can be used to find a solution to the problem statement. So what is basically a problem statement? If you talk about in day-to-day life, you have to predict weather of tomorrow. So here the problem statement will be that you have to predict weather. So to solve these type of machine learning problems, we follow couple of steps. Like I have listed here. The first is define the objective of the problem. Second is the data gathering. Third is preparing your data, exploratory data analysis, building a model evaluation, and finally making a prediction. So let's see these couple of steps in detail. So the first step is define objective. So we have to first basically define the problem statement. Like if you talk about the example I have given, we have to predict weather of tomorrow. So this will be the problem statement. We basically have to ask a few questions like what are you trying to predict, what are the target features you are targeting, or what is the input data. So basically you have to form the idea that what is the problem statement we basically have. uh, Next step is data gathering. So data related to the problem need to be collected in this step. So you need to know what type of data is needed, and where uh, is it available or not, or if it is available, where can we find it. So it is one of the most time consuming step, and uh, we have to uh, take many time for gathering of data. But if you talk nowadays, there are many online resources available for gathering of data, like Kaggle or GitHub, where we can get ready-made data set for the problem statements. So the next step is preparing data, which is also known as data cleaning. So when we gather the data, we also get some inconsistency in the data. So in this step, basically we have to remove this inconsistency. So what are this inconsistency? So these are basically the redundant variables or missing values or duplicate values that are present in the data. So in this step, we basically clean off these problems from the data. After cleaning this, after data preparation, the next step is exploratory data analysis, or also known as data exploration. It is the most brainstorming step of the machine learning. In this step, basically, we have to understand the trends and patterns in the data, or you can also say that you have to find useful insight or correlations from the data you have previously gathered. So it is one of the most important step in machine learning. Here you have to basically understand what the data you have gathered is all about. And next step is basically building a model. As you have gathered all the data and cleaned all the data, so now you have to do is build a model based on the data. So here we will be making predictive model based on the using the help of computer algorithm. As I have said about these two terms in definition, computer algorithm helps in making model. So we use prepared data that we have previously cleaned and done all the tuning to make machine learning models. So this step always start by splitting the data into two parts: training data and testing data. As I have said earlier, training data and testing data are the data splitted from the input data. So in this step, we only use trained data here. Trained data is always trained data volume is always more than the testing data, as the machine learning is a process where we have to feed it with more and more data to make the machine learning model more accurate and efficient. So here we feed it with more and more trained data. The second last step is model evaluation and optimization. So in previous step, we basically constructed a model, and in this step, we basically optimize and evaluate how the model is running and its accuracy and its efficiency. We have to check using the help of testing data. So after checking the efficiency and accuracy in this step, we also make fine tuning and optimization to the model. And finally, after optimization of the model and fine tuning, we will make predictions. In this step, we basically make prediction on the data given. And these are all the steps needed for the machine learning process to make machine learn from the data. Now, this is all about process. Next is types of machine learning. So if we broadly divide machine learning, we can broadly divide machine learning into three categories. First is supervised learning, second is unsupervised learning, and third is reinforcement learning. So slowly we will go through all these types and explain it one by one. Uh, First is supervised learning. So let's start with it. The supervised learning, as the name suggests, is basically machine learning in a supervision. So in this, machine are basically trained using a well-labeled data set, and on the basis of that data, machine are trained to predict the output. So you will be wondering what the label data is. So the label data means that the input data that we have feeding into the machine or the machine model, machine learning model, is basically tagged with the correct output that we will find later. So the label data set is basically a training data set. For example, let's talk about when we were kids. Uh, the role of teacher in our life is basically basically the role same as label data set. Like when we solve mathematical problem, we always need guidance to solve them. Similarly, in the supervised learning, we can take label as a guidance which trains us to understand the pattern and insight insight hidden in the data. Example can be uh, image classification, spam filtering, fraud detection, risk assessment, etc. etc. Second type is unsupervised learning. So, as the name suggests, it is the machine learning is unsupervised here. It is different from previous type. It is a machine learning technique in which model are not supervised using training data set. Here we don't have the label data, and we basically field unlabeled data here. So unlike supervised learning, data set inputted is different here. So if we talk about example here, similarly to previous example, if we talk about a smart kit which can solve mathematical problem by itself without any guidance, it will be similarly to unsupervised learning. Here we have to here the model themselves find hidden pattern and insight without giving any label data. So if we talk about examples, example can be feature selection or dimensionality reduction. And if we talk about difference between supervised and unsupervised, it is basically the type of data that is inputted into it. In supervised learning, the data inputted is labeled data, and in unsupervised learning, it is basically unlabeled data. Next is the third type, reinforcement learning. It is basically a feedback based machine learning technique in which an agent learns to behave in the environment by performing the actions and observing the result of the action. It is basically you can say that it is a trial and error method. So, if you talk about an example, if one day you woke up in an unfamiliar environment, like that is isolated from the world and you don't have anything, so first you will panic, and after this you will try to observe the surroundings and make insight from it and learn from it. You will try exploring and get result based on that. You will get some punishment or reward based on the thing that you do. So reinforcement learning basically works similar to this. An example of this can be robotics or game playing. And from the above explanation, you can see that reinforcement learning is basically different from supervised and unsupervised learning. The difference is basically that the data which we provide in reinforcement learning, there it doesn't have an predefined data, and as I said earlier, it follows trial and error method. Next is uh, as a I have tell about supervised, unsupervised, and reinforcement learning. Here is a table of difference between these three types. So I have differentiated these three types using their definition and the type of data that is fed and training method and approach that these learnings take. So let's start with definition. So supervised learning definition is that it makes machine learn using labeled data, and machine in unsupervised learning use unlabeled data without any external guidance. And reinforcement learning, it is simply an agent interacts with environment by producing actions and discovers error or rewards. So in the definition, you can alone see that these three are different, as supervised learning has labeled data, unsupervised learning unsupervised learning has unlabeled data, and reinforcement learning has no predefined data. If you talk about training method, supervised learning has external supervision, unsupervised learning has no supervision, and reinforcement learning has similarly no supervision. And if you talk about the approach of these three types, so we can see that supervision learning has approach that has label input to get the known output, and unsupervised learning has to make model understand the pattern and discover the output. And reinforcement learning basically follows the trial and error method we have discussed earlier. So application of machine learning. So I will be discussing some of the application. So first is image recognition. So it is one of the most common application of machine learning. The task here in this step is to recognize what the image represent basically. So we will process the image to suitable input data and get result from it. It is basically used to identify object or person or digital images, etc. Next is self-driving car. The car is basically allowed to collect data from the surrounding using cameras and sensors and interpret it and decide what actions to take. Here you can see it is type of unsupervised learning. And if you talk about the example of companies, so we basically know about Tesla, which is a leading figure in self-driving car. Next is product recommendation. So example can be basically e-commerce website like Amazon, Flipkart, or social media website like Facebook, Twitter. They use machine learning models to give product recommendation to you. And next is speech recognition. So if you talk about speech recognition, example can be Google Assistant, Siri, or Alexa. In this, basically, you can in 3 words you can say their speech to text recognition. In this, using machine learning, speech is recognized, or you can say that voice is converted into text. So these are all the application of machine learning. Next is our third topic of the today's event. It is introduction to deep learning. So here I will talk about what is deep learning and its application and types. So let's start with definition. So basically, what is deep learning? It is only method by which we can overcome the challenges of feature extraction. So deep learning model are capable of learning by focus on right feature by themselves. If you talk about machine learning, if we have to focus on a feature using with manually, uh, while in deep learning it can do so with the help of model itself. So it is an attempt to mimic the human brain, despite not matching its ability, enabling system to cluster data and make prediction with incredible accuracy. So deep learning has incredible accuracy, as you can see in the definition. And whenever large data and has large amount of features, we can use deep learning. And deep learning neural networks attempt to mimic the human brain through combination of data input, weights, and biases. These elements work together to accurately recognize, classify, and describe objects within the data. So deep neural network consists of multiple layer of interconnected nodes, each building upon the previous layer to refine and optimize the prediction. So when we have large amount of data and features in it, different from machine learning, as I told you earlier, where we have manually defined features, deep learning models with the help of neural network can automatically identify it. So now we will talk about the three types of deep learning neural networks. So first is feed forward neural network, or in short FFN. So as the name suggests, these type of neural network are in which we provide the data and it processes in network layer. It has no provision to remember the previous output or hamper the accuracy, which hampers the accuracy of the model. So to overcome this problem, we come with a new model, that is RNN, or recurrent neural network. In this, previous output is remembered because the ability to store information, and the previous output act as an input for the next layer, which improves the accuracy of the data compared to FFN. So third type is CNN, or convolutional neural network, which are very satisfactory at picking the design as the input, such as images, line, or gradients. This makes CNN very robust for computer vision. These are basically the three types of deep learning. Now we will be discussing the deep learning application. Here I have listed four application of deep learning. So first is online fraud detection. What is online fraud? Basically, online fraud is the use of online services or software with the internet access to defraud victims or to otherwise take advantage of them. Millions of dollars are stolen using these type of fraud each year. So whenever we perform some online transaction, or there may be a fraudulent or general transaction, we don't know about that. So To detect this, feed-forward neural network can help us by checking whether it is a genuine or fraud transaction. Another example can be the translation of language. Deep learning algorithm can help automatically translate between languages. Like it helps basically many businesses and educational institutes. It is very helpful. Next is facial recognition. It is it can broadly also be called as image recognition. Or deep learning models are basically used for facial recognition, and it can also be used for tagging people on Facebook posts. And in future, we might also be able to pay for items in supermarket or store using our face only. The fourth example is chatbots and service bots. These are another example of deep learning. In these, chatbots and service bots provide the customer service for a lot of companies and are able to respond to them in very intelligent and helpful way to increase amount of auditory and text question. It is thanks to the deep learning models. Next is so we have basically talk about artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning. And here we will see what are the main differences between these three topics. So in this table, as you can see, there is three column. First is artificial intelligence, machine learn. Second is machine learning. Third is deep learning. So first difference is based on the definition of the topics. So artificial intelligence is basically the study process that allows robot to replicate human behavior using a certain algorithm, whereas machine learning and deep learning is a research. And if you talk about full definition of machine learning, it is a research that use statistical approach to allow machine to improve through experience. Or you can also say large amount of data is used to make machine experience and learn from it. And in deep learning, it is a research that use neural network to mimic the function of human brain. So these three are different, we can see in the definition. Next is if we talk about the broader category that they follow, like uh, artificial intelligence is broadest category of all, and machine learning is the subset of artificial intelligence, and deep learning is subset of machine learning. So as you can see, the category they follow. And next is artificial intelligence is computer algorithm which exhibit intelligence through decision making. And machine learning is basically an artificial intelligence algorithm, and deep learning is machine learning algorithm. So next is next is about efficiency of models. So efficiency of artificial intelligence model is basically uh, provided by machine learning and deep learning models, because artificial intelligence is basically a study, and machine learning and deep learning is the research. Next is if you talk about efficiency between deep learning and machine learning, then deep learning is more efficient than machine learning, and it can easily work through large set of data, whereas the machine learning can't work for large longer dimension or higher amount of data. uh, this is all about our presentation and event. Thank you for everyone, and if you have any doubt you can ask us now.
Thanks for joining, everyone. Have a nice day.